Now, more than ever, the word home has taken on a new significance. Our homes have become our workplaces, our schools, our entertainment hubs, and our personal sanctuaries. At Dwell with Dignity, we bring a sense of home and safety to those who have never had it before. Join us as we talk to designers, artists, and creatives about what home means to them, how they shelter and style, and why giving transformational design to those less fortunate is so important. I'm Ashley Sharp, and this is Dwelling Well.
Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Dwelling Well. My name is Ashley Sharp, and I'm the Executive Director of Dwell with Dignity. Dwell with Dignity is an amazing nonprofit here in Dallas, Texas that helps families who have been experiencing poverty and homelessness transition into a beautiful home and to lead lives of dignity and self-sufficiency. Today, I'm incredibly excited to present our very first episode to you. We have the great honor to be talking to the 2020 Thrift Studio Art Chairs, Melissa, Annie, Anna, and Christi. Hi guys, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having us.
So Melissa, I'm going to start with you. So you've been art chair, I believe, twice before. I think this is your third iteration. You are an artist, you've donated to the organization, so obviously you're really passionate about Dwell with Dignity. But something that I would like to talk about is your personal design. So you have this fantastic flair. I love how you put your outfits together. How does your personal design relate to your interior design?
They're actually pretty similar. They really kind of go hand in hand. I like a lot of color. I like a lot of pattern. I like uniqueness, boldness, and I definitely try to incorporate that into my personal style. I like big earrings and bold clothes, but with a little sense of ease, so it doesn't feel, I don't like fussy. I like things to be kind of still comfortable. And my home style is definitely the same. I don't know if you can see behind me, but I've got a lot of bright colors, bold colors. I've got an orange velvet couch, a pink chair, orange lamp, big colorful abstract art. We actually live in a 1954 mid-century modern home. We really wanted something different and unique. You kind of, it can be hard to find a really different house in Dallas sometimes. And so we dug and dug and dug until we found a home that had just a lot of personality. And we're in the middle of kind of tweaking it and making it our own. So putting kind of that fun twist on it.
I love that. And so I am wearing the most color I've ever worn in my entire life. Right now I'm wearing tan. I love black. I love gray. And so Christi Merrill is my soul sister. We both love the absence of color, but Christi's art is so vibrant. So Christi, I'm going to ask you the exact same question, and I'm expecting a very different answer.
Yes. If you've seen my art, you know I can't seem to do anything without including a lot of color. There's no rules. It's just color, 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 and layer and texture. My personal style, this is usually what I'm wearing, something black. So very comfortable. My color will be the paint on my jeans. But I do enjoy using a lot of color and texture and interest in my home and in my decor style. I love layering things in, as far as furniture and objects. And we live in a 1928 Tudor in the M Street area. And it is just the perfect canvas to bring all of that together. We have stained glass windows that bring a lot of color and interest into the room and history. And then I like to incorporate modern and old. I'm just very eclectic in how I design. But all my items, I would say I surround myself with things that are very personal and that have a lot of interest. And I think people really respond to that when they come in. I feel like they know me a little bit better because the objects that we surround ourselves with just kind of speak about us. So that's a little bit about me. But yeah, I'm usually in black.
So that's actually a great segue. So let's talk about objects that mean a lot to us. And Christi, I'm going to keep this to you and then we'll go over to Melissa. But Christi, you obviously have known Dwell with Dignity even longer than I have. You've been an amazing volunteer and advocate of the organization. And we have this wonderful thrift store that obviously you've been a part of for so long, Thrift Studio, which I think the word thrift store is almost misleading because it's beautiful designer goods. I mean, it's not stuff that you would expect to see at a thrift store. I mean, these are gorgeous pieces. And so what pieces, if any, have you collected from Thrift Studio?
Well, to be honest with you, because I've been around so long, it seems like I can't help but buy something every year. I think I started in fall of either 2012 or 2013. I'm trying to remember as far as when I started donating my art and attending the studio. And then 2017, I was art chair, and I was also volunteering very heavily at that time with Dwell with Dignity. So I was over there way too much, and I think we ended up getting rid of so many items that we had and replacing them with Thrift Studio items. And so honestly, every room in my house has a little bit of Thrift Studio. Some of my favorite pieces, here in my dining room, I have I have two buffet tables. So again, no rules apply in my house. And both of them are really unique, and they both came from Thrift Studio. The other one is yellow, with like a yellow base with a quartz top, and the other one is behind me here. It is a gray marble top, and the base is actually silver cow legs. So it's like hand carved legs and hoofs of a cow. It's all wood. There's no actual animal. But anyway, it's very cool, and I just love it. I love incorporating their conversation pieces, and they also just make my stuff look great. I also have a couch in my living room, and it is one of the very first, it has a great history to it. It's one of the very first pieces that Dwell with Dignity ever even, I guess, gathered. Lisa Robinson and Ken Turner actually found it on the side of the road, this couch, an antique couch that they took home with them. It had a history, Dwell with Dignity, and then when Rob Daly was doing his space several years ago, he actually picked a beautiful fabric to reupholster it, and I was lucky enough to get it. So it's very fun, colorful, again, and just adds magic.
So Melissa, let's go ahead and shoot it over to you, and you talk a little bit about the pieces that you've been able to find through Thrift Studio.
Yeah, so I've been involved with Thrift, I think since the very first one in 2010. And for those of you that don't know, Thrift used to happen twice a year, in the spring and the fall. So I've been to a lot of Thrift Studios, and it's probably one of my very favorite things to do every single year. And it's hard not to buy up everything. But as a massive avid art lover and art collector, that's my go-to every time. Like, I'll check out the furniture later. What kind of art is there? And my very first piece of art that we ever acquired was actually through Thrift Studio. And it was my first year at Thrift. And it's this beautiful 48 by 60 abstracted cloud by Christi Merrill. And I'm sorry if I pronounced her name wrong. But she's been involved with Dwell forever. And it's so special. I mean, the art immediately, it just drew me in. But what was cool is it was my first year to donate. Somebody had invited me to donate. And we used to drop off our art at the Thrift Studio office. And so I went in, and I didn't know anybody, and brought my art in. And there was this painting sitting right in the front at the Hood office. And I mean, it just stopped me in my tracks. It was so beautiful. And I thought, oh, to be able to own a piece of art like that. And I had no idea how much it was going to be. And I kept thinking about it. And then when I got to Thrift Studio, there it was, the night of the preview party. And I was there by myself, and I was taking pictures and sending them to my husband. And I said, what do you think about this painting? It's the one I told you about. And he said, it's absolutely beautiful. Get it. And so that was the first piece of art we ever bought. And it is still one of our very favorite paintings, and it has such special meaning to me.
Okay, so Anna, I remember seeing you in the Thrift Studio store last year. Was there anything that you saw that tickled your fancy that you ended up taking home with you?
Yes. I mean, it was really hard to choose, but I had just moved and I had a lot of furniture, but then I saw a piece that I just absolutely needed. It's this white campaigner desk with gold accents, and it actually sits in our ALG Collective studio right under our big white medallion that has the ALG Collective done in gold. So it is a prominent, fabulous, like really elegant piece in our studio. And then I also just purchased off of Thrift Studio Live a couple of weeks ago. Marcy Cook is a great artist. She does a lot with cutout, like almost like cutout magazine pieces, you know, where she collages it together to be this wild spray of flowers. And so I picked up that on Thrift Studio Live this year for my house. So it's not at my house yet, but it will be. It's, I want to say it's called Tupelo Honey. It's got a fabulous pink background. I'm very excited. But it was so fun in the middle of quarantine to be able to go on Thrift Studio Live and pick out a few pieces. I got a few mirrors that I'm going to transform with Lume. I got a side table for our studio at the ALG Collective. And the other piece that I have from Thrift Studio in the past is also a side table in our studio. It works out great, and I love to think that I'm supporting such a good cause as well and helping give other people a home by continuing to add fun elements to my own into the studio.
Thank you so much for that, Anna. And yes, thriftstudio.com is where you can go right now. We have taken elements of our pop-up store online. We will be opening the store hopefully late summer, early fall, but in the meantime, please do go visit thriftstudio.com. Everything actually that you see behind me is from either Thrift Studio or thriftstudio.com. So I actually buy a lot from Dwell with Dignity and support it myself. So it's a great job and a great way for me to be able to give back, and also, like Anna said, to be able to feed our passion for fun, funky design. So speaking of funky design, I want to turn it over to Annie, who has the most amazing, eclectic, original style. And I want to say, Annie, what are you wanting to add to your house? I've been to your house. It is fabulous. But I also know you, so I know that your house is ever evolving. So what's one thing that you would love to add to it?
So we have been working, we moved into this house 3 years ago, and we've been working on it for 3 years to kind of get it where we want it. The one thing that we have not done that I really want is to redo our outdoor patio. I love being outside, but our patio, it's kind of unusual and like 2 levels, and it doesn't fit for how we would want to use the space. So we really don't go out there a lot. So I think that in this next year or two, we're gonna look at redoing the patio and getting like a fire pit and a swing and getting things outside so that we can have our friends over and we can actually enjoy being outdoors in our beautiful garden, our beautiful space. So that's my one dream thing that I have to do before we move out of this house.
And you know, I think right now more than ever, with us spending so much time at home, that being able to use every part of your home is so important. And so I can totally see that you want to be able to live in every space that you have. So I think an outdoor space would be really great. Melissa, I know that there's something that you are looking to add to your house as well. You want to tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, we actually moved into our house. It's been about 1.5 years. And so we've been slowly adding a lot of stuff. Like I said, mid-century modern house. When we moved in, basically none of our furniture fits style-wise, but really we have a very uniquely shaped rooms. And so that's been interesting, adding furniture and that kind of thing. Definitely outdoor space. I'm like Annie, we are outside all the time. And we have a beautiful yard, and we actually have multiple outdoor spaces in our backyard to be able to do that. So that's been one thing my husband and I have been talking about. We really are kind of dreaming up our outdoor patio. We're wanting to do some crazy tile outside, get a lot of color out there, do like an outdoor kitchen and all of that. So I love to garden. And so just kind of redoing the backyard and bringing that outdoor element in. We've got big windows along the whole back of our house. And so I think it's really great to incorporate your outdoors with your indoors as much as possible. So those are some of our wants. But for me, it always goes back to art. My number one thing that I want to add is more art to my house.
So, Melissa, thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I would love to know from Anna if there's something in your home that you currently have that is just really special to you or has a lot of value. Maybe it's been with you for a long time, maybe it's only been with you for a short time, but it really has changed the way that you live. And if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I have a very eclectic style where I mix, my family loves to do, like antiques and, pass things down and then also find things in consignment store. And then when I travel, I pick up items too. So there's a lot of fun things that I've accumulated in my home that really just reflect me or things that I love and make me happy when I see them. But what's interesting is that when asked about like my favorite decor items, it's the things that set it apart. It's actually my lighting. I have realized in my traveling that having definitive lighting in each space, and they don't necessarily go together. They're not the same light or in the same collection or anything, but they do aesthetically work together. So I have, I find that that's really what I get excited about walking in a room and turning on the light. I get excited about, like having people over and being like, oh, I need to have the lights on, and I set them up with my chandeliers. I have one that is very modern, they're almost all actually a very modern feel with a hint to the vintage, which goes so well with the antiques, but also like the fresh modern pops that I've added. So it's amazing how having different lights in your home and chandeliers and going ahead and getting the electrician and like moving your light exactly where you want it, right? Like instead of just keeping it because that's where the light is, go ahead and just move it exactly where it makes the most sense in your space. And it makes it feel like a cozy, special place. It does, in and of itself, within your home. So in the middle of quarantine, it is so fun because I kind of feel like I move from like space to space to space, even though I'm all on the same floor. So that's my encouragement of like, that's my favorite. And I encourage everybody to embrace the light as well.
Also, I totally agree. You can't have enough good lighting. And speaking of cozy spaces, Christi, I would love to know what is one room or item that you think brings a family together? Because at Public Dignity, we only work with families, and that's something that we're very passionate about. And Christi, I know that your family is incredibly close. And so what do you do? What do you use? Where do you guys gather to spend time together?
Well, this was a really fun question for me because I am someone I'm always adding things, I'm always moving things around. We have also moved homes several times, and really the anchoring piece to our home is our dining room table. It is a 60-inch round, very simple farm table. It's about probably approximately 150 years old or something, and it actually is the very first piece of furniture that Scott and I bought for the house that we purchased like 25 years ago. And all of our other furniture had been hand-me-downs from our parents, and we were finally like, okay, we're ready to start making some purchases. And I found this table in downtown Plano at an antique store. And again, it's just super simple at seat 6. We have 2 kids, and this table has had everything done on it. It's even got little pieces like flecks of paint on it at time in little places. Not even for me, but my children when they were little. But my kids are now in their 20s, and we grew up having family dinners. We play lots of games together. it has moved from a kitchen table to now that we've downsized to such a small home, as our dining room table, and it just continues to bring the people that we love around it. So it's probably my most sentimental piece for that reason, and I just look forward to it continuing to be in our family always. It's probably the one piece I'll always have.
I love that story, Christi. And Annie, what about you? What's something that brings a family together and makes y'all feel like you're part of a unit and that you're going through something together?
The kitchen. I really think that no matter how busy you get, your kids are at school and you're at work and all that, dinner is always the thing that everyone comes together for. So I think having a kitchen that is big, maybe an island in the middle where you can have helpers is really important. And I think that it gives you a space for everyone to commune. And I do think that having a little bit of seating right outside the kitchen for those who aren't participating in the preparation is really important, because then they can still be involved and they can be part of the joy of preparing the meal and getting to fellowship with each other and getting to just spend that time together. That's so fun. And then you guys all eat a delicious meal, and that's the best part of the whole day. So definitely the kitchen.
Well, and Annie, that leads me perfectly into the next question, and this is something that is on everyone's mind right now. How can you shelter more beautifully right now? How can you live more authentically in your space, given that we really can't connect with people, but we want to be able to live our best lives in our home still?
I think that's such a good question. And I think you kind of have to determine, does your space work for you to even get started on this? And I think you can ask two questions. One is, do you have any rooms that are not being used? And two, do you have any messes that constantly accumulate somewhere? If you say yes to either of those questions, your space is not working for you. So we had a room that we did not use, and we have this beautiful house and we're not using it to its maximum potential. And the fact that we weren't using this room wouldn't have bugged me, except for it was sort of being used just to store stuff. And that's really not using it. It became like an eyesore, and it was really a point of embarrassment for me to have this unruly space. And also, it was a space that we could have expanded our lives into, and we hadn't done that. And so with that in mind, we were like, what do we need more space for? And I think that's a question you have to ask yourself. If you have a room that's not being used, what can I use a little more space to do? If you constantly are using your dining room table as your office, if you're doing that much work there that it interrupts you being able to have dinner with your family, maybe you could use that space as an office. Or if you always have people staying over and they're having to sleep on your couch, maybe a guest room. That's actually what we ended up doing. And now we use that space constantly. Even though it's a guest bedroom, we use it. I have my Zoom meetings on that bed. I take naps in there. I relax in there. I read in there, because it just serves me in that way, and it's great. And then when we have guests, they can also enjoy that space. So now, instead of using 4 of the 5 rooms in our house, we use all 5. And I've gotten so much more joy out of that. Now, the second half is, if you have messes that are accumulating, which like all of us do, I think, this is an area that I constantly am reevaluating in my own home. So I had messes that would accumulate by the front door, because I would be getting ready to go somewhere and then realize, oh, I got to write this note, or, oh, I got to do this. And so I always had just stuff there all the time. And I'm a big believer that everything in your home should have a home. This is how you stay tidy. And when you're tidy, you're happy and you know where your things are. So what we did was we actually moved a desk into that area. And so now all of that mess goes into the desk, and it looks beautiful and it functions for my life. The last thing that I have to say on this is that your home was built by someone who is not you. They may have intended for your dining room to be a dining room, but if your life doesn't work that way and you constantly find yourself needing to use the space differently, don't be afraid to change it up. We moved our living room into the formal dining room, and it works so much better for us because it's kind of off to the side. So our messes from hanging out aren't the first thing you see when you walk in. And it just serves us better that way. And so that would be my last piece of advice. is to look at the way you use the space and realize that you are unique and that your way of using your home is going to be different than anybody else's, and that you should use your daily routine to guide how you actually do the rooms in your house. So that's it. That's my best advice.
I think that's amazing advice, and that's especially needed right now. So thank you so much for that. Okay, so we have time for one more question for each of you. And so Anna, I'm going to go to you. So what first attracted you to style and design in the first place?
So this goes back to dreaming, right? And being able to look at something. I would walk into a room and be like, oh, this is wonderful. I love this room. Except for that, I wish that was purple, or I wish that was blue, or like, I like the feel of it. But I was first attracted to it when I was in, I want to say grade school, and my mom was taking me different places because my mom has a different aesthetic than I do. She looks great in oranges and olive and chartreuse. Who looks good in chartreuse? I look great in jewel tones. So mom would always be like, isn't this wonderful? And in my head, I would always say, for you, yes. For me, I wish that this and this and this were different, or different colors, or arranged differently. So that's what first got me interested in style and design, is thinking through what I would change about something I was seeing. And then when I all of a sudden was in charge of, decorating my house and stuff, that's what I chose. I moved into my townhouse, and my mom had made the comment of maybe you should live with the space a little bit before you make changes. And I said, oh, thank you so much for your advice. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to change everything to make it exactly as I want, what makes me happy. And so I changed out all of the cream and brown and, like 1995 building home to whites and blues. And I have this beautiful tile floor in my foyer, and changed all the lighting, and it just makes me so happy every day. So what first got me interested was really just, how can I change it? And now I get to have all the fun of making those changes.
I love that. And also, Anna, what I really think is great is that you found a way to make your house into a home, and you know yourself well enough that you're comfortable making those bold changes. And it's something that really has made your space personal and wonderful for you. And Christi, I would love to know, what makes home for you?
Home for me is a place, I said earlier, when someone walks into my home, I want you to know more about me. I want you to know more about us as a couple, us as a family. It's very intimate, but yet not in a weird way. It's like just welcoming and homey, and I want it to be a place that people feel comfortable. And that they're also a place that's stimulating and interesting. It tells a story. Those things are really important to me, and it just, I don't know why, I've always wanted that, and I've always, I have a very understanding spouse, and that, like, he lets me do anything. So it's every place we've lived, I feel like it feels like us really quickly, because we surround ourselves with things that reflect us. The other thing is that I want people that have, like, their sense, like, I focus on like 3 senses: sight, which is the visual stimulation, sound. I love to have music playing. I usually have either classical on, or I may have blues on, or I may have Simon and Garfunkel on, or I may have something, more edgy and trendy on, but just whatever my mood is, or the mood for for someone coming by or whatever. I just like to have surround myself with sound. And then smell. I'm gonna do a little shout out to Society Candles. I'm a big believer in having a candle lit. We have 3 dogs, and we've always had about 3 dogs. So it's a good helper when you want, a good welcome when you walk into the house. But Society has just wonderful candles, and they're located in both Bishop Arts and in Preston Center. So check them out. My favorite candles are their candles that are named after cities in Texas. But my very favorite one is actually named after the state of Texas. And it's just, they're wonderful. So I highly recommend checking them out. But I think when you walk in and can experience a place with your senses, and that really does make an impact, and it feels like home. And also, I am very much a big believer in it being comfortable. We have 3 dogs, we had small children, we've had teenagers in our house, all their friends hanging out, and I just want it to be a place that I don't have to worry about things breaking or getting stained, and it's just, everything is very livable. That says home to me.
Thank you so much, Christi. And so Annie, this last question is going to be for you. So this is something that we had talked about earlier. Everyone on this call is an artist, an amazing, talented artist. Melissa actually doesn't have any of her own pieces in her house, but Annie, you do. And true to the Dwell with Dignity style, you're a big DIYer. So I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit.
Well, when I was growing up, HGTV, Home and Garden Television, it was brand new. And I was really fascinated by the makeover shows. And it really inspired me. As I was growing up, my mom, she was kind of a DIYer. And she showed me that you could see something on TV and you could make that real by doing it yourself. And it really wasn't that hard. The first project she ever let me help on was she let me choose the wallpaper and paint for my own room. You know, this is when you would wallpaper like a third of the wall and then like have the rest be paint. This is in the 90s. But she not only let me choose those elements to reflect who I was at that time, she showed me how to apply those things to the wall. And that was where my entire artistic and DIY career started, because all of a sudden I felt so special in my room because it represented a part of me. And I was excited to have my friends over and show them what I had done. And I think that when you do things in your house, it is an outward expression of your inner self. And people can come into your house and experience that part of you. And so I DIY'd lots of stuff to show my inner expression of myself. I have painted my staircase rainbow. We've done multiple murals throughout the house. The one that's currently still on the wall is a Hokusai wave. That's really cool and special to me. We've sanded down and redone tabletops, cabinets, chairs, just things that were doable, that were inexpensive, and that enabled me to change my home at a time when maybe I couldn't afford a $6,000 couch, but I could redo my table and make it something special and something that was more me. So that's why I started doing all of these things myself, is because I felt empowered. Regardless of how much money I had, I knew that I could get a bucket of paint and really make an impact in my space by doing it myself.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. A big thank you to our first wonderful guests, Melissa, Annie, Anna, and Christi. I want to thank you women. You have been such an inspiration. I love hearing your personal stories about art and design and what home means to you. Thank you for everything that you've done for Thrift Studio, for Dwell with Dignity, and what you do for the community of Dallas. If you're interested in getting involved with Dwell with Dignity as a volunteer, please go to www.dwellwithdignity.org. Also, as we mentioned in this episode, our Thrift Studio pop-up store has recently been moved online. So please go to thriftstudio.com and see if there's anything that catches your eye. Every dollar that you purchase an item with goes back to support Dwell with Dignity and the families that we serve. So really, your dollars are donations, and that's what's so amazing, is you get this beautiful item, but you're also helping a family in need. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning into the very first episode. I'm excited to be presenting wonderful speakers and guests throughout this series. So tune in, check us out again, and I'll see you next time.